Hey folks, I'm Jack and this is Raw Tropical Living. Thanks for joining me today. Hope you all had a good weekend out there. Myself, it was just kind of a quiet weekend. I thought about 2022, looking ahead a little bit, and watched a bunch of videos on breathing, breath work, adding a little bit of breath work to my meditation practice, and yeah. And then all of a sudden the weekend's over and we're back to Monday. So today I want to talk about my outline for a raw vegan diet and give you a few suggestions and ideas how you can customize it yourself based on your situation. Anyhow, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, be sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button and click on the little bell so you'll receive notifications when I put out a new video, and hopefully you will follow me into the new year. Let's see, where to start. First of all, first thing, let's act like this is day one you've ever heard about a raw vegan diet. Now you've gotten curious, which that's what I want this to be. I want this to be kind of a reference video. I reference people to. I want you to use common sense. If at any time you're watching people, listening to people, getting any advice, and it sounds a little woo-woo, or there's a lot of weird words in there, or it just doesn't resonate with you, there's always got to be that filter. If it's got to make sense to you, it's got to make sense. So let's keep common sense in this thing. Another thing too, I do these messages, and a lot of the stuff I'm going to say in here today are things I've said over and over many different times. I want to stress this though. If you really want to do a raw vegan diet, and if you want to do 100% raw vegan or anywhere along the way, it's really just about setting your mind and then coming up with a plan to it. And it's also about not getting overwhelmed with it. Everybody, we're all different. We all have different approaches to life. We all have different approaches to learning. We all have different approaches to adapting to new things. So my best advice to you is, if you really want to do this, and if you have been trying to do this and you've been struggling, you really have to break it down as much as you need to for yourself. And that's going to be different for everybody. In other words, for some people, you just break it down. Well, first of all, so many people just come into it just kind of like with this big vagueness of like, okay, I'm going to be raw vegan for life. I'm never going to eat any cooked food. Very few just step in and do that. And also psychologically, that's a little bit overwhelming when you get into something new and you think about always and never and years and years and years. So you break that thing down. If you have to, you break it down to doing a raw vegan diet one day at a time. One day at a time. That's as simple as a lot of people change their habits on anything. You do it one day at a time. Maybe that's not enough for some people. Maybe you got to do it one meal at a time. Maybe you just have to do those baby steps, and each day you wake up, all you're focused on when you wake up is your first meal of the day is going to be raw. That's it. Then you get to the second, once you've eaten that raw meal and you've sufficiently feed yourself to where you're satisfied, then you go on. Then that next meal, then you just got it in your head. If you've got to go meal by meal, bite by bite, day by day, break it down to what you have to. But don't get overwhelmed like with this whole always and never and, oh, I ate a bite of cooked food and this and that. As far as just like the outline of the different things that I think are important and that we need to get in, and I'm not an expert and I don't know everything, and you still want to educate yourself on this, is the fruit. The fruit has been, is, and will always be the base of my diet. I went high raw vegan in Costa Rica in the tropics, where I had a lot of access to fruit. Don't have as much here, but I always got bananas. Had a good run on mangoes here a few months ago. I'm getting some oranges. I got some kiwis. In other words, you do what you can, but fruit. Fruit is the basis of this diet. And I'll go ahead and jump ahead, like for fruit and for greens and for all your produce. I get this one asked a lot, and people are always so, and this is just, once again, everything here is just my opinion. I'm always asked, well, I don't get, what about organic? You're not eating organic, talking about me, or I can't get organic, or I can't afford organic. Let me just state categorically once and for all my thoughts on that. If you can get organic and you can afford organic and it's available to you, always get organic. Always get organic. You hear me there? Always get organic. If it's not available to you, if it's not financially feasible, you do the best you can. So am I not going to eat fruit just because I don't have access to organic? No. But I don't want to underemphasize the importance of organic. I feel like I'm kind of in a holding pattern up here in the States. I'm working, I've got little cogs going to get back down to Costa Rica, and not just to get back down to Costa Rica, but to get myself into an eventual life of being able to eat very high, not just very high raw, but very high organic. So the fruit, always eat the fruit, eat as much variety, eat if it's possible, eat what's local to your area, go to your Asian markets. You can get a lot of good stuff that you don't get in your regular grocery store there. Greens. Too many people are talking about, oh, you don't need the greens. It's just all about the fruit. Not my philosophy. I mean, maybe for some people, but I always recommend, getting as many greens in your day as possible. And you can go back and look at some of my What I Eat in a Day videos to see exactly what I mean by as much as possible. I have massive green smoothies where I cram kale in. I have huge salads where I, whole head of lettuce and other various vegetables in there, just always trying to get greens as much as possible. And I always fall short. I know that. Sprouts. Everybody out there should be sprouting. Okay, even the village idiot like me who's lazy and has never really grown anything in his life. Sprouts are pretty much foolproof. And no, I'm not going to do a sprouting video because it would literally, just showing different stages, it would take about a minute. You can Google it. And it's very economical too. I have not even opened. I bought a bag of Beluga black organic lentils about 2 months ago. I thought I was running out, and I still had enough. I've been using, and I'm always eating these. A 5-pound bag pretty much lasted me for a year and a half. Don't remember exactly how much it was, but even if it was $25 or $30, we're talking a year and a half. There's so much nutrition in those sprouts. I've also started sprouting broccoli lately. Look into the nutrition. Go right after this video. Go Google nutrition and broccoli sprouts, lentil sprouts. So get those sprouts within the greens and the veggies you're eating, and it's not just the greens. Eat any vegetable you want and get lots of variety, lots of colors, lots of variety. Good for our just overall health. Good for our gut biome. And the more variety we get eating, the more we're likely to get all the things that we need for our body, the minerals, the vitamins, and everything else. Green smoothies, like I just mentioned, a great way. Green smoothies have been a base of my lifestyle for years, many years. I don't know if they were from the absolute beginning, but I remember my house in Hako, for at least the last 6 years or so. Big green smoothies. You can pack lots of calories in there. You can get lots of fruit in there. If you're trying to lose a little bit of weight, you might not want to make them quite as big as some of my smoothies where I put 8, 9, 10 bananas, because on this lifestyle, I've had to actually work to keep the weight on, put weight back on. And then the big salads. That's the place to get those colors in there, man. And on top of those, a lot of times on top of a bed of lettuce, a whole bed of lettuce, I'll have chopped purple cabbage, like finely chopped up purple cabbage, easier to digest. Same with the broccoli chopped up. I'll do it with carrots. What else? I think I'm forgetting something right now. But anyhow, I just put like lots of vegetables like that on top, and then I put my sprouts on top, and it's just like a mishmash in there. Education. You're going to want to educate yourself, and don't be, hey, you're talking about something you're going to be putting in your diet for the rest of your life. So at least buy yourself a couple of books. I mean, surely your economic situation is good enough to buy a couple of books, or maybe you can even get, in certain areas, might be sophisticated enough to get these in a library. Just a few I have down here, and there's a lot out there, but I always recommend How Not to Die by Dr. Michael Greger. I always recommend Becoming Vegan by Brenda Davis. I always recommend Becoming Raw by Brenda Davis as well. Those two, they're on my iPad, like a Bible. I can look up stuff there all the time. And then Fiber Fueled by Dr. Will B. He has a Polish last name, I believe, so it's hard for me to pronounced, but it's called Fiber Fueled, and it talks. He gets into the detail about the gut biome, and that's where I got a lot of. I was already doing it a little bit, but he talks a lot about the variety and eating lots of different things for that gut biome. So get your education. Recipes, you're going to need recipes, and know this, not all recipes are created equal. And even though that stuff's pretty and it's okay for every once in a while, I'm by no means like the food police or Mr. Strict, you have to eat perfect all the time. But in general, most of that stuff you see on Instagram is so high fat. So your mileage may vary when it comes to recipes. I'm always going to recommend lists of Raw Food Romance. And it's not because, I was thinking about this this morning, it's not necessarily, but it's not really because she's my friend, because I can be kind of ruthless like that. If I got a friend that's got kind of a half-assed business or a business I don't really believe in, I'm not spending money there. I support them, I wish them well, but her recipes, the one thing I like is she's got a lot of different varieties. She's got, in fact, the book I really like, the plant dressings dips book. It's got no fat salad dressing recipes. It's got medium fat, and then it's got higher fat. So get your recipes down for sure. And there's a lot of other people out there. Chris Kendall. There's any number of people. My world. I just don't consume a lot in the recipe arena. Also too, supplements. A lot of people get really passionate, and they get actually angry when you start talking about supplements. I do some supplementation. You'll get the information for yourself as you're processing this by reading some of this education and continuing to educate yourself. Just to let you know, for my personal, it's not really a supplement I use, and I'm not going to get everything. This just happens to be here. I use this blackstrap molasses almost daily in my smoothies. I've actually gone up from having a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons. Really good boost for your calcium and for your iron. I also, not being in the tropics right now, I supplement vitamin D, especially during the winter. I laid off for a little while in the summer and early fall because I was actually getting outside and taking sun, but when I'm not around it, that vitamin D is very important. I use a vegan omega-3. People, go back and forth on whether you really need that, and honestly, I might let that go when I get back to Costa Rica. But for now, I take that. I take zinc. Just to get a little boost of that. I'm not saying that's absolutely necessary. I don't know if it's absolutely necessary for me. I know that zinc really is important to the immune system. So I take zinc, and I take a B12 supplement. That's it. And the last I'll leave with you is, don't become obsessed about this. Don't make this thing your life. Don't make this thing all you're thinking about all day, every day. Don't go join 25 groups. Don't go network with all the raw vegans and get mixed up in a lot of that crazy. And that's what that is. There's a lot of crazy raw vegan stuff online. So just like I'm saying, I'm not saying my way is the only way or even the right way, but I'm just saying, use a logical approach when you're doing this. You've got to eat plenty of food. That's another thing too. Don't do the whole living on juice thing. Don't fall into that trap of doing a cleanse and then you're always falling off. Just learn how to eat and eat plenty of food, because that's part of getting the nutrition you eat. If you're not eating enough food, you need the calories you need to fuel your body through the day, but you also need enough calories and that variety to get the nutrition that your body needs. Like I say, not a doctor, not an expert, just an old burnout ex-30-year drunk here. So you take everything I say with a grain of salt, and take everything anybody says with a grain of salt. You take a video like this, you don't follow me like I'm some sort of a guru or whatever. You take everything and you sit down and you search, and if it doesn't make sense to you, you discard it. But anyhow, hope you guys enjoyed this one today. If you like it, please give me a big thumbs up, and I'll see you here again in a couple of days. Peace.